Good afternoon or good morning, depending on what time you're hearing this. My name is Caroline Hill, editor of Legal IT Insider, and I'm privileged to be joined by George Socha, who we can reveal at this moment in time has joined Reveal, a senior vice president of brand awareness. Hi, George.
Hello, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on it. And this was relatively short notice. So I really appreciate you joining me to talk about your new role. I obviously just referred to EDRM. So George is co-founder of EDRM. As most of you will know, George, you co-founded EDRM in May 2005, and it's a model that outlines the stages of the e-discovery process. It's incredibly well known and widely used, with many legal teams using it to guide their e-discovery processes. And I'll just introduce you properly before I ask you about your new roles. So you've got, and to correct me if I'm wrong, a number of board positions, which I won't run through. And you also recently held the role of managing director at BDO USA, which has just come to an end. And on LinkedIn, as of today, it probably be updated today when you're listening to this, it will be the 14th of September, but it says new role to be decided, and we can now do the big unveil.
So it should be to be announced.
To be
And
announced.
this is
Sorry,
the big
this is the big
big
announcement.
announcement here.
So,
That's right.
so congratulations, George. So when do you actually start at Reveal?
So I actually started it will have been 3 weeks ago as of
Okay,
when this is broadcast.
okay,
But
all
there
right.
are a few things to get in order before an announcement's been made and things are public, rather than announcing it to the world and then going, okay, and what's my email address anyway?
That's very wise, actually,
Right.
and you're very wise not to update LinkedIn, because quite often people do that and then wonder why they suddenly get this sort of, they're not quite ready to talk about it. This influx. They
Right.
don't realise that LinkedIn is actually just announcing it pretty much. So tell me about. So obviously, I've already said your title. I'll repeat it. So senior vice president of brand awareness. So what does your role? What does that role actually entail?
There are really two major and probably a third and smaller component to the set of components to the role. First, of course, the brand awareness side. It's right in the title, right? And for that, it will be continuing much of the same type of thing that I've been doing now, going on 20 to 30 years in the world of litigation support, e-discovery, and generally the practice of law, which is to be out there writing and talking, but now as part of Reveal, rather than on my own as I was for so long, or with BDO, or before that at either of the two law firms I was at. So it's being out there, trying to really live up to that thought leader title, not just by repeating what others are doing, but putting out new ideas, new content, trying to push the frontiers that I've been trying to push for a long time, which has really, even since I was in law school, how to make the best use of the available technology to support and enhance the practice of law. That takes me to the second side, which is working with the product development team
Mm-hmm.
on the Reveal platform itself
Okay.
to continuously improve it, expand its scope, its breadth, and its depth, so that it goes from where it is now and it's being enhanced as we talk with the addition of NextLP, but to help that team and work with that team to further enhance it in any number of potential directions. I have all sorts of great aspirations, probably a lot of them unrealistic, but why not chase unrealistic dreams? Then maybe you get something realistic done.
I like that. So why? So is the clue in what you just said? Why Reveal? Is it to do with Next LP? I get the impression that the two conversations, I think you suggested, they were happening at the same time.
When So I had a 4-month period here. The 3 times in my career, I've had an opportunity to take some time and think about what next.
Hmm.
The first time it was 6 months after I decided I was going to leave, after I announced that I was leaving the partnership at the last law firm I was at, and trying to figure out what to do next, which led me to launching my consulting practice. And then along the way, Tom Gelman and I started EDRM. Tom, his wife retired. She thought he should retire too. I wasn't going to run EDRM without him there as well. So he retired. He and I passed EDRM off to Duke, and it was time for me to then do something different. So part of that whole process then was figuring out what next. Here again, a period which ended up 4 months figuring out what next. Do I try to go back to a law firm? Do I look for an in-house role, another service provider, leave the world of e-discovery entirely? The direction I wanted to go and ultimately have achieved was to end up with a software provider with a strong emphasis on e-discovery. Some folks told me e-discovery is dead, nothing further is going to happen there. You got to recreate yourself as a privacy lawyer, or there's not going to be any future for you. And I said, no, let's see what I can find.
Right.
So that takes me to e-discovery software provider. Why Reveal? A number of people suggested that I take a look at Reveal. You got to go look at them. You got to see what they're doing. They're going places, they're moving places. And so I started looking, started talked to a whole number of people about a whole number of options. In 4 months, you can talk with a lot of people. And Reveal, I mean, it certainly feels to me like it's a company on the move, going places. The folks I've talked with, and I had a number of discussions with people, are enthusiastic, they're energetic, they're positive. It seems to be a good culture there. I did learn partway through the process about the ongoing efforts to acquire NextLP that delayed my joining.
Oh, really?
Revealed by a bit to make sure that that all got taken care of. But that was much more than just a cherry on top of the whipped cream on top of the chocolate malt.
Right.
I've known Jay Lieb for a long time. He's done great things with NextLP. So having that added in just made it that much more attractive.
Yeah.
Let's see, I've got
That's
some
interesting.
notes here. Go ahead.
No, that's interesting that it was in parallel because
Yeah.
it was announced in August. It's fairly late in August, wasn't it? The reveal.
Mm-hmm.
And I initially I was wondering if it was relevant to your decision to move, but clearly, as you say, describe it. It was the cherry on top because that conversation, presumably, you were already very much accepted and possibly even started. Probably you'd even started by the time that was announced.
It was right about my start time.
Yeah.
Yep.
In terms of despite the fact that that wasn't the reason. So I think from reading about NextLP, that's going to help achieve some of your objectives in terms of moving things forward, right? So my understanding is that where is it? I'm just reading the release initially.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is from Reveal's point of view. So they said the acquisition of NextLP marks a significant step forward for e-discovery, positioning Reveal as a next gen market leader. In what way? I mean, there's an emphasis on AI. In what way do you think that the NextLP will help you push the bar in terms of what Reveal's doing?
With NextLP, I think the addition of NextLP, the technology and the people, means that Reveal has, as best I can determine, the largest and deepest artificial intelligence data science team of any software company in the e-discovery space. There's a lot of bench strength there, a lot of bandwidth, a lot of depth. That will help greatly. Jay has demonstrated with what he's done with NextLP up to this point, a strong interest in making use of the capabilities that artificial intelligence can add. And I know Reveal's by no means the only organization going this direction. You pretty much have to have put a mask over your face and then put another mask on top of that to realize that artificial intelligence is not the way to go. It's clearly the direction forward for us. There are so many potential capabilities So being at an organization that has that bench strength, that bandwidth, that experience
Mm.
to take that and then roll those capabilities in further to the platform, take them to extend the platform out in additional directions. That's something I myself am very much looking forward to. I think at this point, at least in the world of e-discovery, artificial intelligence is much more talked about than it is used.
Well, I was going to say that to you because so
Yeah.
exactly, and funnily enough, I've had, I guess it's interesting. I'm jumping around a bit, but going back to your point about e-discovery being dead, I mean, I think this is the time now in the market for e-discovery because obviously that with them because of COVID, the corporate market M&A has died, and as we know, with these cycles, litigation is going to start coming to the fore as it already is, and therefore e-discovery, etc. So it's like very timely. But so I think that we're likely to so we're likely to see an uptick in litigation. But as a general observation, I think that AI there hasn't the conversations that I've been having is that there hasn't been this AI revolution that everybody predicted. I've been looking through some headlines recently about what we can expect to see. Is it fair to say that it hasn't happened as expected, and why do you think that is?
I mean, I think a revolution, lawyers, come on. Not to be too glib about it,
Mm,
but I'll go ahead and be too glib about it.
I like Glib.
In 3 years of law school, because that's what we have here in the US, we are taught never, ever, ever do anything new.
Mm,
And if you are going to do something new, only do it after you convince people everyone's been doing it for 300 years. So lawyers are not going to be a profession and as a discipline, a group that are going to glom onto the
mm,
greatest new technology. They're going to sit back and watch a while. And that crossing the chasm diagram, if you've seen that, it's kind of like a bell curve. Lawyers don't tend to be early adopters.
mm.
They're very much, as a group, laggards, and actually for very understandable reasons. Artificial intelligence is used in the legal world. It is used in e-discovery. But one of the, again, glib definitions of artificial intelligence is the stuff we wish we could do with technology, but don't know how to do.
Right.
And once we figure out how to do it, it's not artificial intelligence anymore.
Yes, there's a lot of
So we
discussion around the
use,
definition. Yeah.
yeah. So how do we use artificial
Mm,
intelligence today and pretty extensively in some cases?
mm,
We use it to create threads of email in email platforms, stitching together different messages so that reviewers or other folks looking at the email can follow that progression of communications. It doesn't come to us that way. That's not how it comes out of that data comes out of the box. We've got to work with it, and artificial intelligence is used to accomplish that. Predictive coding, TAR, whatever you want to call that, that's a subset of artificial intelligence. That's a form of machine learning, and it's a form of supervised machine learning.
yeah.
So the computer does some work, and then we tell it where we want it to go, and it goes out, and essentially the way we tend to use it finds more like that. We say, I like this. Is there more content out there
Mm.
like that? And it tries to find the same thing. Clustering of data, and that is unsupervised machine
I've
learning.
seen some
So we
really,
have those tools in there, but
yeah.
there's so much more that could be done and that we're not yet doing.
There's some great. I mean, we won't go into it now. What would be great, George, is when you get settled in, we could have another conversation like this. And I'd love to revisit. I mean, I've seen some great, with the clustering and the making it so much easier to do the review. In terms of that's the area where I think that there seems to be some genuine progress. And as you mentioned, tar, but it'd be so interesting to see what you can achieve. Within Reveal. And I think that everyone will join me in wishing you best of luck in the, sort of the first few months. And hopefully we can get together again for another conversation, perhaps do another update in terms of what you're seeing in the market in the not too distant future.
Absolutely. I would very much enjoy that.
All right. No, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.